Okay, let's get into labels. Golly, this symbolization and labeling this section. Section 4 is a big one. It's taken us a while to get through. So, labeling features in a map. First off, let's talk about like when to label and that sort of thing. So a label is going to be information that's not actually captured in the layer's symbol. So you can label a feature with its name, or you can use another attribute as a label. So let's take a look here at our wolf pack. So that's going to be this Washington overview. Yeah, I made this one ugly, but that's fine. Let's look at the attribute table. And so here in the attribute table, we've got a few different pieces of information. We've got our, FID, object ID, shape. Then we've got the pack name. We've got the year. These are all 2022 packs, so that's not different among any of the polygons. We've got the pack ID number, and then we've got the pack status. Now we symbolized this. We symbolized these packs based on their status. So would we want to label them also with the pack status, like where these orange ones would all say non-breeding pack? Yeah, no, because we get that from the color. So it doesn't make sense to label something with the same attribute that you used to symbolize it. All right, so that's one thing. But the name would probably make sense, because sometimes like in the news or agencies are going to refer to a pack by its name, or they might refer to it by its pack ID number. So either the pack name here or the ID number would make sense. So let's show you how to label. All right. So to label, you're going to click on the layer itself, and then this is going to pop up. When you're not clicked on the layer, that's not going to show here in the ribbon. But so you have to click on a layer before your labeling options come up, and then it's going to be labeling. And you're going to choose the field you're going to label based on, and in this case we're going to label it on pack, because that's going to be the name of the pack. And you can choose a scale for the labels to show in or out. We are in this class creating static maps, so maps to be printed, or PDF maps rather than online maps. When you're creating online maps, you're going to have more of that concern with zooming in and out and when a label is going to be viewed, if you're close up or far. But that's where you're going to handle that. So, I mean, we could set something here. So let's say we want to see labels all the way in, but not when we're zoomed out. Like, let's say if we're zoomed all the way out to like, far away from Washington, we're going to, so that puts us at 14,000, what's the nearest? Let's maybe say 20,000. Maybe when we're zoomed out beyond 20,000, we don't want to see them, or actually maybe even closer up, because the labels would be kind of awkward. So maybe 5 million? Okay, so we're not going to view them out beyond 5 million. It's just easier to use. You could type whatever you wanted in here, but it's just easier sometimes to use the set limit. So now I'm not going to see the labels if I'm zoomed out farther than this. Okay, and then I can choose a style for the labels. I think a lot of the pre-made styles are actually pretty good ones. I think they're a nice place to start. So I'm going to use, I could do black with a white halo or white with a black halo. I'm not going to see what this looks like until I hit label. So let me go ahead and hit label. So this is something I should point out. This is the mistake everyone makes. They set up all their labels and then they're like, well, why am I not seeing anything? Why am I not seeing anything? It's because you actually have to hit this button here, and then the labels will pop on. And so we can see that, yeah, we probably don't want to see the labels out farther than that. Let's zoom in closer on the Spokane area, and we can see. So we are labeling these using like land parcel labeling here. So they're the titles are put inside of the packs. This, now you can see how bad this hatching is. I need to change that. It's going to drive me crazy. So I'm going to change that to a solid fill. Apply that. Okay, so now they're white, which is kind of annoying. Let's change that color back to, that was like a teal that we had before, huh? Something like that. Okay. All right, there we go. That looks better. Pin that. Okay, so now we can try out some different styles here. So would landmark good look good? No, that really blends in, huh? So I think something with a halo is going to work well because a halo is either a lighter or darker kind of shadow just outside of the font, and it helps it to show up better. So I think let's see what a black halo looks like with white. Oh, that really stands out. I think I like that. So I think it's nice to start with one of the pre-made options, and then you can go from there and change the. You can hit that corner button, and it'll give you like all your different options for appearance of the label. So I've got my font is Corbel. I think you really don't want more than about 2 types of font on your map, because when you get too many types of font, it gets overwhelming and it looks too busy and it looks kind of juvenile. I'm going to minimize that symbol there and keep that labeling. So, maybe I want Corbel, or maybe I want to just work with, Times New Roman is a serif font, a nice reading font. We can see how that looks. So when you're selecting your fonts for your labels, you want to make sure that you're kind of keeping things consistent. And I've already got a font on my base map, so how close could I get to that? Matching that. Let's see what that looks. That looks pretty similar. So 2cen MT is one of my favorite fonts. So, and you could also change. Let's see. You've got your halo effect. This is a gray halo. If you wanted to, you could change the halo to a black halo and see what that looks like. So this is where those, that's almost too much contrast. The halo size, you can change that here. I wonder if a smaller halo would work. I'm not even sure if I can get a 0.5 point. Oh, that looks a little bit tidier. So this is where those options live. They're here in the symbol. So how did I get there? Well, you can get some basic ones right from here, but I hit that arrow there. It's going to pull up my label classes, and I'm here in the symbol. So I'm here under appearance in the symbol to change those. Okay, and I changed my halo there. The other thing, let's see. Let's make sure we're covering our workbook options. Yeah, so you have to hit that to get things to go, to get your labels to label, and then you're going to work actually over here in symbol to get your appearance of the symbol if you want to tweak it away from one of these standardized ones. Sometimes it's nice just to use a standardized ones because you can go right back there. What else do I want to show you? Oh, I do want to show you that if you're having a trouble looking at your labels, if they're not showing up, if all your labels aren't showing up or something like that, and file this in your memory banks because it'll happen to you at some point. It's not happening to you right now, but at some point it might happen to you. You're going to go to your position of your labels and your placement, and you're going to look here at your kind of your strategy, your fitting strategy, and conflict resolution. So if you find that you've got labels that aren't showing up, it's probably because you've got something going on here. So you can, if you've got multiple labels for one feature, you can remove duplicate labels here, but just kind of showing you where some of the tools are. And then as you get your training wheels off and start to ride, you can come back here and we can work through labeling difficulties here. Okay. All right. So I just kind of circled those here. So labels are busy, so stop to evaluate the need for labels before you apply them. Those are your tips here. More than 2 font styles and more than 3 to 5 font sizes on a map gets crazy. So really think about your labels, and also, we're going to get into layout next week. So then you're going to be thinking about, what font are you using for your labels versus what font are you using for your heading and in your legend. Okay. Don't label a layer using the same field you symbolize it on. Yeah, okay. Dark lettering over black lines is hard to read. Use a halo. So halo on labels is great most of the time, or much of the time you're going to want to have a halo. Fonts smaller than 8 point are pretty hard to read, so you definitely want to think before using this font smaller than 8 point. So your label locations, you're going to set them up over here. And if you're dealing with a polygon, you're usually good. Going with land parcel like we have here is nice because it puts the names right inside of the polygons, and they're horizontal, so they're easy to read. If you want, if you want something to follow a boundary, that's what it's going to look like. It doesn't, it works well for some purposes, but not really for these wolf packs. And you can have like the labeling for lakes has kind of a standardized wider letting land parcel. It really is what we want here for these packs. But that's where those options live. Let's see. If you're labeling points, top left is the preferred label location, followed by top right, bottom left, and bottom right. Let's look at labeling points just briefly. If we go to our Spokane Community College close-up, and we symbolize the bakeries, so we're going to zoom to this layer for the bakeries. And we have, the bakeries are already labeled, so if we go to labeling here, we can turn those labels off because they're ugly, but actually it might be nice to know what we're going to call those, and we get a chance to label points. What I want you to notice is the default for the labeling here is top right. That's what we mean by top right, just up and above the symbol and to the right. Let's change this. This is 1.5 point. You notice that it's not legible. It's too small. Let's see if one of the standard, let's see, point of interest. All right, well that's big enough now. It's 8.5 point, but it's kind of blends into the background. Let's try another one, another standard one. How about black halo? That's all right. Maybe we just want a black letter. Oh, black with white halo? I think that shows up the best of all of them. So if we were just going to use a standard one, this works all right. And you can see that there's a few Rocket Bakeries. There's the Rockwood Bakery. There's Boots Bakery, Lilac City Bakery. Okay, so we just practiced labeling again. And this is kind of showing basic point, basic offset point. And you can kind of see they'll change the position just a little bit. You've also got, let's see if we look at this. We've got the ways that we would show them. So this is where these options live, and the placement. So this is our best position, right? But we could move these to be, so like I said, upper right hand, we could move these labels so that they're sitting right on top of the point. We could move them so that they're immediately to the right of the point. So all these things are options, but top right is what's considered to the best. Okay. And you can also give preference to different zones. If you've got a bunch of labels that might interfere with each other, this is where you're going to work with that. Okay. Here in the position tab is where you're going to work with labels that overlap each other or get in the way of each other. So make note of this for later when you're doing more things with labels. All right. I'll just save this, put us back into the PDF. All right. So what I just said, if your labels aren't showing up, spend some time in the position tab with the fitting strategy and conflict resolution options. That's a little chess piece, and then those little stacked boxes, rectangles. All right. So let's finish up with just, here's some vocabulary that you should be able to fill out and be comfortable with. All right, there's some vocabulary for you. And then I just want to make sure you understand the tasks I'm going to have you show me. These are things that you've done as part of the demonstration. You might be going back and showing me. So I want you to take a screenshot of the map you created with the Washington Wolf packs. Make sure the packs are symbolized based on unique values and each pack is labeled. So that's going to be this Washington overview. Take a screenshot of that when you've got your labels. It can be at whatever scale you want, okay? Use whatever base map you want. Use whatever colors you want. Knock yourself out, okay? And then the second task is you're going to take a screenshot of the map you created with the Spokane census data, Make sure the census data is symbolized using either graduated colors or charts. So let's go back to the census data that's in our demographics. And so this would work just fine. So this is symbolized based on graduated, let's pull that symbology up. This is symbolized based on graduated colors and using standard deviations. So this would be fine. If you have yours with the charts on it still, that's great. If you wanted to use graduated, if you wanted to use symbols or something like that, that's also fine. But I just want to see that you were working in that census data and following along. It doesn't have to be exactly the same as mine, but just that you were in there working. So that's what I want to see for those. And then if you want to check yourself on your own, you can symbolize the Spokane census tracts based on the number of children per household. So see if you can, if you're like, hey, do I really understand what I'm doing here? See if you can do that, okay? I have a couple more resources for you here. This is a web course. It's like an hour-and-a-half web course that Esri offers on symbolizing map layers. And then here's I think it's a 15-minute video. So some more resources if you want to dig in just a little bit more, get some different perspectives. So thank you for sticking with me through this section. It was full. Your brain is probably stuffed and you're probably just excited to kind of get to it and do some of this. And it's in the doing that it'll start to make more sense. So thanks for sticking with me.